So kicking off the quarterly crate, the final one of 2017's releases is this one by Dexter, and this is on his label, which is called Dek, D-E-K. So a lot more acid tinged. Like a more broken version of that. And then onto the flip. Yeah, some of the Dexter material that's come out has been older tracks actually, but these all appear to be newer ones. Obviously, if you go back through his discography on labels like Klaxon, especially, which he runs or co-ran with Steffi. Maybe Steffi still runs the label with him. You find a lot of his good stuff on Klaxon, but this new label Dek is pretty good too. More of an acid house offering on that side. So that one's by Dexter, as I said. Moving on now, another and more white label business. This time from a producer called Chicago Floatation Device. So for the most part, a bass heavy kind of techno tool. Moving over. Yeah, a touch more distorted on this side. Maybe a little bit like the kind of gear you'd find on Bunker or Panzerkreuz or one of those kind of labels. So yeah, good tracks for DJing with, I think. Maybe not that memorable a records, but like I said, good for DJing with. So, little needle change there. First one was giving us problems there, I think. Little pit stop. The only pit stop I ever remember us having to do on this. We don't edit these shows. But I think it would have been slightly unpleasant listening if we'd left that one on. As you heard there, little sample from an old alternate track. And here's another one now as well from an old Future track. Spank Spank. This is Neil Landstrumm. Neil's great at doing this, at pinching samples and turning it into something new and fresh over his own sound. This one is on Central Processing Unit, Sheffield label. That's been getting a lot of attention over the last year especially. That's a good fit actually. Landstrumm, of course, being a big advocate and servant of Sheffield's bleep music or techno over the years. Yeah, moving on to the flip. I play this one, but I speed it up a lot actually. Kind of need to if you want to play with other techno-y sort of stuff. It's a kind of, don't want to say typical Landstrumm fare, but certainly trademark Landstrumm sounding record there. Nice one from him. Now moving on, this one is by a producer called Ténèbre. I don't know if I've got that right. It's on West Norwood's cassette library recordings. It's kind of from that randomer school of techno, I think, style-wise. Rhythmic, very UK sounding. There's a lot of broken techno that comes out, and if you're to talk about the European sound, a lot of that can be very compressed and crisp and loud. And it's not that the UK style isn't loud, but there's a certain kind of roundiness to the production, and it might sound a little bit warmer sometimes as well, and maybe nod sometimes have a little bit of a nod to more old school sounds, old school breaks as well. Whereas a lot of the, like I said, the European broken techno sounds can be a little bit more. It's a different kettle of fish sometimes. But the thing about each of these styles is they do mix well together as well. So certainly Blauen and Randomer spawned a lot of upcoming producers after them who have tried their own versions of it, and this guy Ténèbre, I don't know, I'd assume he's a fan of both those producers, and certainly hearing something of them in this is a really smart one actually. Now onto the flip. It's called Jungle Frontier. Fitting name. Yeah, so while the other side sounded a little bit more new school, and like I said, giving a bit of a nod to producers like Blauen and Randomer, perhaps this is something going back in time a little bit, but with still very nice modern production. Slower or jagged rhythms on this, and drums. Yeah, good one there. That's on West Norwood's cassette library, as I said. Now, what we got? I think this one is by Swarm Intelligence. This actually came out a while back, and I had the record, but I didn't, as sometimes happens, I didn't bring it with me last time. The funny thing with some of Simon's tracks actually is you could literally play them at 33 or 45, so it's hard to tell here actually. At this point I think it kind of works at 45. Very bass heavy. Let's try the 33. Probably meant to be at 33 actually. Yeah, I think so. A lot of Simon stuff is quite dark. This is too, but obviously a bit slower and a little bit more bleak overall, I think. Certainly not made for the traditional dance floors. It's a bit pacier. God, what would have this have sounded like a 45? Let's see. Yeah, okay, I think certainly a 33. It's funny though, because there are some records I've picked up recently where one track will sound perfect at 33 and then another one clearly needs to be at 45. It's odd how that happens. Maybe it's just a personal preference, but I've noticed that quite a lot over the last year, where one track I'll play at 33 and another one I'll play at 45 on the same side. I don't know if it's designed that way by the producer or label, but to my ears anyway, it sounds like they're both meant to be at different speeds. Now, moving on to the flip. The thing with some of Simon's techno stuff as well, it's really about it's all in the bass. When you play them out, they really fire the place up. Some of you will remember his one on Voitax as well, one I've been playing for a long time actually. The long side and that was an absolute killer. On this release there's actually really more of a range of stuff actually. Range of rhythms and speeds. Machine gun rhythms on this track, and then closing it out. This is on a label called, sorry I should remember it, Instruments of Discipline, and it's a 6-track EP. Watch out for that one. Actually, it's, like I said, it's been out a little while. Now moving on, we've got one on Don't Be Afraid, and this is from TR1. TR1 being Dean Feeney and Eddie Reynolds. Dean is living over in Canada now. Eddie's still in Ireland. Not too sure how they're making music together. Do they meet up a few times a year, or are they still able to, or do they swap? They don't strike me as a pair who are swapping files back and forth on the internet. I know all their music has always been very much about jamming, playing the machines, and capturing their favourite moments and putting them on records. So I'm not too sure what way they do it now. But it's a slow builder. Takes up nicely. Xylophone type sound in there, which isn't something that you hear too much on techno records. I remember there was a great one Donica Costello did on D1 back in the day. There's 2 releases he did, Diversions Part 1 and 2. I don't know if he called it Part 1 and 2, but there was a 1 and 2. There's 2 records, and one track on that was particularly good use of the xylophone, or a xylophone sample at least. Rolling Chicago drums. Yeah, nice aggression in the atmosphere. Yeah, moving on to the flip. Sorry, it's an old slip mat getting stuck there. Houseier, this one. Probably the nearest I've heard them do to them doing the kind of a straight up old school house sound. What the second track on the other side reminded me of, maybe a little bit of Virgo 4 or somebody like that. There's certainly an old school tinge to some of these tracks. What I like about the TR1 stuff as well is that they have been making music for a good while now as well, that their production has really come on and on. There was a few, did they have 2 tracks on Pogo Records recordings from Dublin? I remember there was one particular acid one on that I really loved, and they've released on Apartment Records as well. But now this one on Don't Be Afraid is it's coming out really well. Really good DJs as well. So that one's on Don't Be Afraid, TR1, as I said. Next one is on a label called Latency Recordings, and it's by a producer called Nuel. And I gotta say, I'll be honest with this one. Do you know that complaints that a lot of people used to have before about, oh, I'm only getting the record for one track. I'm going to stop buying records now. Like records, you're only getting a record because there's only one track out of 4. You know, so what? Do you know what I mean? It's just like if there's one good track off and you're going to play it, just get the record. You know, I don't know what the big problem is. But that was a lot of people's reasoning behind giving up playing vinyl before. But I don't mind saying with this, I don't think the first 3 tunes that I played here, I don't think too much of them. Well, they're fine, but it's actually this one. And I was listening to it yesterday in the record shop. I was in All City, and I was thinking, what does it remind me of? It's like a dub techno version of Nocturnal by Claude Young on Djax. Play that out, you can be sure that will come across very pleasing to the ears and the body. Yeah, I like this one. Yeah, but for me, and I think for a lot of people who play techno especially, where there's more tracks being played, you do listen to records and you go, right, I can take a bit of that. That track will not make a nice little component in my set. You know, they don't all have to be standalone tracks or floor fillers that are going to have everyone asking, oh, what was that, or that's an amazing track or whatever. But certainly I hear something like this and I'm thinking, right, that'll sound nice lodged in between something, or it'll sound good played on its own for a minute or whatever. And this one is by Nuel. Maybe I'm a little off with my comparing it to Nocturnal. Obviously Nocturnal was a much harder track, but somehow I kind of heard something from that track in this, in the riff. Now moving on, someone actually who does some of those kind of wiry kind of riffs as well, or has done in the past, has been Christian Wunsch as well. Actually, you mightn't think of first of all with that, but there are a couple of his that have been a little like that also. Slow it down a little bit. All the tracks in this are fairly bassy actually. They're from Conan. Conan O'Donnell, who some of you will know from his alias and label Zero Fucks, but this one is on Lunar Disco, and it's part of their limited series of releases where they do 100 or 110 records. Conan's really coming on as a producer, actually. He's put out some hardish techno tracks, but he's showing that he's adept to doing lots of different stuff, really. As we'll hear now on the other side, especially, that one's a little bit deeper than what we've heard from him before. Definitely a more Detroit-tinged record for him. And he always was a big fan of Detroit. See, obviously Conan is from Dublin. Some of you may or may not know that, but like people like Conan would have come into the record shop, and I would have seen them DJ and DJ'd with them myself as well. So I know that Conan would be a big fan of Detroit. And this is the first record I've heard him put out where you can really hear that coming through, actually. Now moving on to this is the one that I'm liking the most of it, I gotta say. Like a cross between, I don't know, something early Warp-esque and Drexia, I guess. I think Drexia sometimes are describing something as Drexian is sometimes a bit of a lazy comparison nowadays, but you can definitely hear a little bit of that in there. Yeah, quite pacey as well. All the tracks in there are pretty fast. Now moving on, we got one from Jerome Hill. This is one I really should have had on a little bit earlier. I actually missed it when it came out. Jerome was kind enough to send me this then. Very few don't releases I miss, but I did miss this, and I really wanted it for this track. Which is Jerome's remake or rejig of Armand van Helden's Donkey. Yeah, it has to be said for Jerome, and I've said it before on this, Jerome's productions, I feel sometimes his DJing overshadows his music in a way. He's such a good DJ that people sometimes don't always think of him as a producer, but really he's one of my favourite producers. Also, he's done so much. He's done so many good club tracks over the years, and with his own brand of weirdness. A bit more bruising than the opening track. Reminiscent, I think, of old Subhead, actually, this one. Obviously there's similarities sometimes in the sound, like loosely speaking, a lot of people will put Jerome in the wonky techno bracket, and It's actually a term that he coined in a record shop he used to work in before, as a way to describe the kind of music that people like Subhead and maybe even Neil Landstrumm, who obviously came a little bit earlier, but what those producers were making. I guess you'd put Paul Birkin and people like that into this same bracket as well, but yeah. The thing as well, though, about all of that, I think it's hard to bracket them as well, you know, or it's hard to bracket a lot of those producers. People like Neil Landstrumm and Jerome as well. Although they have a trademark sound, you put on one of their records, and you know all of the tracks will be a bit different. Now, maybe on the Landstrumm one I played earlier, there was 2 tunes that sounded similar-ish, but it's not like they're just putting out 4 loops. That all sound very much the same, you know. There's a trademark sound, but each of the tracks do something different. This is why it's always worth listening through all 4 tracks of a record. There's can be always that little cheeky B2, the little unexpected one you weren't thinking of, that you play and you go, oh shit, imagine playing that. And then that becomes the one you play rather than the initial A1 that you might have bought it for. Yeah, nice job. Yeah, I think I need to start playing that one. Actually, I've been playing the Donkey track more so, but I think that's my new jam off that one. This one is by J.K. Flesh, and it's new out on Downwards. Some people will know Justin Broderick from his Godflesh material. He's also one half of Techno Animal with the Bug back in the day as well. He's done a lot of stuff, but this new alias of his, or at least one he's been using for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, maybe 6-7 years even. But in more recent times he's started to become a little bit more prolific with it. J.K. Flesh, as I said. This is my favourite off it. It's called Bullied by Love. Really fresh groove, and it's the kind of thing, just sometimes people that are a little bit on the periphery of techno, or people that are coming from another world, they're sometimes the people that really make the best stuff or the freshest stuff when they come into it. Nice place for him to be as well, and Downwards. Good fit. Drum heavy, that one. Moving on. Yeah, it's a smart 4-tracker overall, actually, and a little bit different to what we've been hearing on Downwards recently. Quite a bit more direct, actually. And a little bit more direct than I actually thought it would be for J.K. Flesh. Or dance floor based, at least. And this one's a kind of a beatless jobby to close us out. Now, moving on. This one actually came out a while back. I'm not sure how recent it is, but I only picked it up recently. And it's on BLD tape recordings. This one is a remix by Oliver Deutschmann, German producer and DJ. Well, I've seen DJ actually. He's a very good DJ actually. very slowly evolves, but it gets there. It's alongside on this job from Oliver Deutschmann. This one is by Freddy Fresh. Anything that has Freddy Fresh's name on it will always be something that piques my interest. And it goes into this more kind of dreamier territory for Freddy. That said, if you know any of Freddy's old stuff, like Fantasia, for instance, some of it is on this kind of tip. Very, very happy, has to be said. And Freddy really makes it all, and he has made it all, like everything from ambient to breaks to big beat, obviously, electro, heavy acid techno, this kind of gear. He's really almost done it all. And then different persuasions of house, disco. He's literally done everything. Hip hop. He's written books on hip hop. Like the guy, is it the Rap Records book? Is that the name of it? Sorry, I really should know the exact name of it. This is called Rap Records or Rap Records Directory. I don't know. I know he did another. He did an updated version of it at one point as well, just like a directory of lots of old school rap records. But yeah, Freddy, an absolute legend in modern electronic music. This one is by a producer called ASOK, who is from Liverpool. And I know that because I met him at a gig in Liverpool. A very friendly, chatty, cool guy actually, ASOK, and quite prolific. He's made a lot of music. I think he's had stuff on Creme Organisation and a bunch of Dutch labels. And he goes for a more electro interpretation here. Shifts nicely there. So yeah, three strong remixes here actually. Each having their own separate purpose, I suppose, or style. Yeah, like listen to all three of those. You could hear a different place where they could come in useful. So yeah, that's a good one. That's on BLD Recordings, as I said. This one is on Scalamaria, as I always try my best to get right, and I think I got the name right there. Scalamaria's label, Genesa Records, and this is by a producer called Anthro, Anthro. Nice red vinyl. Yeah, bit of a monster, this one. Yeah, no one ever takes any prisoners on this label anyway. Broken business there. Onto the flip. Nice little change here actually. Where did it happen? Yeah, so some of the tracks, they kind of get quite tangled and then kind of go into a more straight 4/4 or 4 to the floor kind of kick then. Yeah, that one's by Anthro, and I'm pretty sure we have another one on that label as well coming up. This one is by Metrist, is how I say it. This is on Hash's label, Neighbourhood. This is the third release on that. Yeah, I like Metrist stuff. Young London producer who's been slowly but surely building up very solid discography. He definitely has his own thing going on. Sound there kind of comes in and out. So rolling drums onto the flip now. There's a K.Hand's remix on it, which is the Dutch drum and bass producer ASOK. Interesting glitching and vocal weirdness there. Yeah, presumably that was the remix of this tune. Sounds fairly heavy there. Shuffling track to the alongside. I think I might prefer this one actually. Both are definitely very solid club tracks, and a nice K.Hand's remix, as I said. That one's out now on Neighbourhood. It's probably been out for a little while actually. Moving on now, here's one by Bodyjack and Special Request, aka Paul Wolford. I'm guessing this is because I'm not sure if it was a collaboration or if it's a remix and one original track. This would strike me as being the Bodyjack side. Kind of heavy house. And do you know what it actually reminds me of? Chris mightn't like me saying this, but I mean it in a good way. It's actually a little bit like old. It's got that kind of it's a little bit like old Ignition Technician and UMEC crossed together. I don't know if any of you remember the Mumps tracks that came out in Tortured by UMEC. That vocal sample there is certainly reminiscent of some of that. I'm sure Chris will probably completely disagree and say, oh no, it sounds like this, or that isn't what I was thinking of. And I'm not saying that he was trying to mimic that tune, but I'm not saying that at all, but it does sound a little bit like that. Kind of finger click percussion in there as well. Moving on to the flip. bass in this one. It's probably the special request one. This is on Dext recordings, by the way.
To the dance floor, please.
Yeah, a little bit of a kind of UK garage tinge off it. Great thing about special requests actually is the alias is so far-reaching. There's so much, there's so many different styles that have come out of the special requests project so far. It's another good example of it. So that one's on Dext recordings, as I said. Moving on, this one is by a producer called Dead Fader, who we may have played stuff from before. Yeah, it is on 45. This is on Parachute Records, who I think are from Italy. I think, anyway. And this is a JK Flesh remix. Kind of lurches along. Typically mean manner. Now Roly Porter is on the other side. I think Roly Porter was one half of Vexed, wasn't he? If so, you can certainly hear similarities as well. Definitely sounds like something you might have heard on Planet Moo. Now, I want to get the producer's name right here, because I've seen it before. Konx-Om-Pax. Sorry if I got that wrong. Now, let's check out our speeds here. Maybe I had that one completely wrong, did I? Maybe the original of this one, Roly Porter, was meant to be like that one. This one is by Konx-Om-Pax, as I said. I could be really bad with my pronunciation there. Again, it's one of those. Should it be 33? Should it be 45? Hard to know. Sounds a little like Plaid or someone, actually. Now moving on, we've got one by Amphs, or ANFS. This one is on Vanilla purely Vanilla. I don't know if they call it Vanilla Records as well, but it's Vanilla is the name, and I've played some tracks from that label on this before. Yeah, this one's all about the bass pressure. You don't really feel a kick as such in it. It's kind of more the standard sound on the label. Yeah, I've found some of these really useful over the last year or two. They definitely bring it into a certain kind of territory that can work really well sometimes if you've got the right crowd and the right sound system as well. Yeah, cool kind of logo as well, which looks like an evil relation of the Adidas logo. So that one's on vanilla. Now moving on, we've got one from Blauen. This is on his label called Turnesque. Blauen's got very productive again over the last year or two. And I think he's starting to reach a point with some of his tracks now too, where he's finding a new sound. He's found a new sound, and the thing is with a lot of stuff that's made on primarily with modulars, and in the way that he makes it and the way other producers do, sometimes when that transfers to vinyl and you want to play them out, they don't always sit as well alongside other tracks that you're playing. But Blauen stuff now, he seems to be really crafting them in a way that's I've definitely noticed the mixes. Even they're just they're sitting a lot nicer in the mix now when you play them out. He seems to be really honing this new sound. An awful lot of bass pressure in them too, and of course those playful little leads that are his trademark. Dark undertones sort of come in and out. Experimental on that one than the others, and then onto the next disc. This is a double pack rather than an album. It's specifically a double 12 or double EP rather than an album. It is two records. Now this might be the one that people have been playing. To the next. Yeah, I think for me it's been this record that I've been playing more so than the other one. Nice collection of tracks overall, six in total. far cry from his biggest track that a lot of people would know, which is Why They Hide Their Bodies Under My Garage, which was obviously his breakthrough track. Well, maybe it wasn't his breakthrough track. He had that other edity thing before that, didn't he? The Brandy Yoke, but obviously all the records on R&S and various stuff after that. He had a really golden streak at the beginning, and then went quiet for a while and reinvented himself. I think it's what happens with some producers that just come out with a new sound. What happens is a lot of people copy them, and then then that producer doesn't want to maybe continue doing what they've been doing or continue on that path because they feel people are already copying that, and maybe their material isn't going to stand out as much as a result. Who knows? But I know Jamie did take a little bit of a step back with his productions for a while, and now since launching Turnesque you can really hear a new sound having developed, and a range of them actually. Not every track is the same on all of these records. It's a nice mixture of moods. It's a little bit more haunting. Now, so that one's on Turnesque, as I said. Let's see, here's one by K.Hand, and this is on her label Acacia. I can't say I know what this original track is. This is like a re-edit by K.Hand. Let's stop it for a sec. You Stepped Right Into My Life, K.Hand re-edit, Melba Moore, Gibb Brother Music. Oh, okay. So something BG related. This is just called Live. And it's good to see K.Hand getting some well-deserved, I don't know if you could go as far as saying hype, but well-deserved coverage recently. For years, a lot of us knew her as one of the only female producers really coming out of Detroit. Punisher, I think, was another one. But K.Hand's records, and go back to a lot of the old ones, they really stand up. And she's been prolific. She's got such a long discography. It's, you know, there's a lot of records there, and it's funny because when something new comes out, you're not sure, because like some of the stuff that's been coming out, some of them have been old tracks. A few things got reissued. It's similar to the way Orlando Byrne has reissued some stuff. But here and there, then a new record comes out and you go, oh shit, is this an old one or a new one? These appear to be all new tracks. This one's called Boiler Room Teaser, and this is something, I don't know if she made it or played it live on Boiler Room or made it around the time of her recent Boiler Room appearance. It's the one I've been playing the most anyway. I haven't been playing the other two, but I've been playing this one. Simple but very effective. It sounds huge actually when you play that one out. Moving on now, we've got another one on Scalamaria's label. This one is by Oleika. More mean, bruising, broken techno. Big characteristic of this label. Moving on to the flip. Yeah, I like this one. Yeah, not too dissimilar to something Scalameria might do. Not too dissimilar to maybe what Radio used to do. Or like something you might hear from Lag as well. By a producer called Oleika, as I said. And a bit of a mad one to close it out here. Wobbly rhythm. Now moving on to the next. I got one on. Let's see what this is. This is on Riot Radio Records. This is one of the originals. There's actually 2 remixes on this. This is Corrupt, and this is on the B side. It's by Cannibal Cooking Club. And DJ Z Miguel has done a remix here. A long-standing Portuguese producer who's done some great hard jacking Chicago style techno over the years. Kind of like a cross between Robert Armani and DJ Rush style. Yeah, good kind of jacking version there. Another original here from Cannibal Cooking Club. I played with the guys last year actually in Rotterdam. They played a live set and they haven't been as active in recent years. One of the guys runs a label called Wackler, I think is how you say it. Wakkler, a label that I've played on this before. But yeah, they were great live, great energy. Yeah, they got a brilliant reaction that night doing their live set, which in fairness was long enough. It was at least, I think it was at least an hour and a half, which for a live set is long enough. Moving on. This is the Subhead remix. Yeah, this remix never really settles into anything for too long. It's sort of it's always jumping into something else. Yeah, some good fun there from Subhead. Now moving on, we've got one on Houndstooth now. Oh, yeah, true. So these are all remixes of Second Story, previously known as Alterettes, who used to do some great electro under that name. I remember in around 2006, 2007 time, himself and Ed Chamberlain were doing really challenging stuff. It was like the next wave of electro, really. There's a lot of hype around electro now, obviously, which is good. It's definitely a positive thing. But really, the traditional electro sound, the kind of stuff that's getting all the coverage now, it hasn't really... that sound peaked many years ago. There hasn't been really many new strains of electro at all since the early 2000s, probably, and probably the best tracks of electro. There's been some here and there, you know. I think ERP is probably the last producer who came with his own sound, particularly. But since then, there hasn't really been anyone, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way it is. But there's still lots of great electro being made. This one is by Radioactive Man, who's obviously done some great stuff over the years himself. Not not as fast as some of the stuff he can do sometimes. Yeah, slightly more restrained actually for him in a way. But yeah, sounds nice, loud, as I sometimes say about tracks. I'm listening to them here in the headphones, and you're listening on maybe on a laptop or possibly even on a phone. I don't know. Do people watch the Quarterly Crate on their phone? I guess they do, yeah. But with Keith's tracks, a lot of it is all about the bass pressure. Moving on. The Exaltics. It's a little bit pacier. It's actually more at the pace that you would associate with some Radioactive Man stuff actually. Yeah, out of the 4 tracks on this, I think this is the one I've been playing the most. Good job from him. So 2 solo ones so far. And then on the other side, there's 2 Detman remixes. I'm not too sure what the idea was with 2 Detman remixes. You know, it's nice having a Detman remix. I think what could have happened here was some of the remixes were done earlier as well. See, there is a bunch of remixes that have been done. I think like 12 in total that will come out as a digital album in the next month or 2. But stuff like the Detman remixes and the Exaltics and the Radioactive Man were done a little bit earlier, so they came out as a 12-inch. Like that Detman one, for instance, it's okay. I think this is the one though. Easily the stronger of the 2 Detman remixes, I think. Nice job from him. Yeah, it definitely seems like a little bit more went into this remix actually. There's a little bit more attention to detail, nice little swells here and there that just come in, come out quickly. Overall, it kind of goes somewhere a little bit as well. Yeah, and we tend to use that comparison or Drexian tag sometimes, but there is certainly a Doppler effecty tinge of this. Now, moving on to the next one. That was on Houndstooth, as I said. This one is by Dyad, and it's on their own label. There's a beatless kind of thing that starts us off there. Dyad is Ben Gibson, and I forget what the other producer's name is, but it's 2 of them together. Oh, Fundamental Interaction is the other guy's name. Almost Mike Parker-esque, although in fairness, Ben Gibson has been doing stuff like that for quite some time as well. Of course, he was on Mission 6277, Jeff Mills' label, back a number of years ago. So it's not really a surprise to hear him doing more spaced out or even mill style stuff. Yeah, but the dyad stuff is, yeah, it works really well out actually. Really good dance floor tracks. Yeah, so basically 3 bangers on that one. It's worth watching out for. Dyad. Now moving on, as this lovely records, lovely looking record and sounding record from Thomas P. Heckman. This one's called Acid Seduction 4. So you know what this is all about anyway. Acid business all the way. Five tracks in total. No acid on that one really. When I get a little 808 tool. That's the stuff. That's the thing with a lot of Heckman stuff. You nearly can't tell. Was it made years ago? Was it made a couple of months ago? I think these are new tracks. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure they're new tracks. With people like Thomas Heckman, who've just got such a large discography, it can be hard to know. Oh, is that a new one or an old one? God, I own so many Heckman records, but there's still a hell of a lot I don't have as well. But I don't know. These could be new ones. Yeah, nice five tracker there from him. Now, next one is by Henning Bear, and this is on his own label, Man High Recordings. Actually, maybe we'll start with the A side. It is an album after all, so we'll take it in order. Very minimalist. And some of Henning stuff is. But certainly with this, you can tell he's not aiming at all for the floor anyway. It's not to say that this wouldn't work on the dance floor, but certainly a lot of the material isn't necessarily aiming for it particularly. This one is though. This one is called Critical Distance. And a lot of them, or a lot of these kind of tracks sound like machine jams. One kicks heavy onto the flip. Yeah, and in fairness to Henning, he could have done an album of bangers, but it doesn't seem to be what he's going for here. There's a few you can play, obviously, in a more peak time techno set, but I'm trying to think what that reminds me of. It's like a No Plastic Man one. I can't think. yeah, it's not necessarily the kind of records just to flick through. I think you need to listen to a little bit too. Maybe a little bit like a Mika Vanio type album where it's just all about the extra little details that pop up. But certainly by flicking through it, it doesn't always do those kind of tracks justice. It's a bit of a pounder, a bit more hooky. Yeah, I'd say out of all of the tracks so far, that's the one that's gonna, you can imagine, creating a bit of a stir on the dance floor. This one's called Drama Sky. And on the flip, beatless one. They're the kind of ones I like, as I've mentioned lots of times before. I like his intros into a set. Come in useful for that. So yeah, as I said, quite minimal overall. A very definite sound. And if you've been following the Man High label so far, you can definitely hear the there is a very certain direction they're going in. Definitely on the darker tip. The thing I like about Henning's music, although we don't hear as much on the album, is he can have some really nice simple rhythms that just work very well on the floor. Like I said, I think the album is like a mixture of dance floor tracks and something for listening. So a nice mixture there. This one is by a producer called Your Silent Face. I think it's Your Silent Face anyway. Let me check. Sorry about this. Yeah, Your Silent Face, and this is on Tethys Records. Now this came out a while ago actually. I met this producer over in Liverpool recently. Some of you might have seen an event that ran over 3 days called Welcome to the Dark Ages, which was put together by the KLF. I met lots of very interesting and cool people over there. And one of them was this guy, Mike, who is Your Silent Face. And he kindly gave me this record at a gig in Birmingham recently at House of God. He's also released on Fidel's label as well. Hasn't had too much out, but what he has had out so far is impressive. Cinematic. This one's called Red Rain. Evolving, changing at least. So moving on now, we've heard Henning's Perk. This is Bitter Music remixed. Starting with the A side here, this is the Head Front Panel remix. This is on Perk Tracks now. Now, a lot of the Head Front Panel stuff by John Heckel is it's probably been a lot tougher than this. Kind of sounds a bit more tribal, actually. Sounds kind of like something you would have heard on one of Ben Simms's labels, maybe like Theory or Symbolism or even Ngoma or one of those. Yeah, and a nice little change for Perk Tracks as well. I haven't heard a track like that on the label before. Now, what else have we got here? We've got Hodge and Pessimist. First up is Hodge. Pessimist. Takes a little while to come in, but takes his time. Builds in that one. So overall a steppy enough record. And something a little different from each of the producers as well, I guess. I guess some of that might have had to do with the source material as well from Perk. But definitely a different record to what I was expecting, actually. Three individual remixes on this, slightly different to what I've heard from each of the producers so far as well. That one's on Perk Tracks, as I said, and that Bitter Music remix EP1. There's an EP2 as well, obviously. Now this one is by Leo Anabaldi, old Italian producer. This one is an Advent remix. Nice little reversey bits in there. Say it's sounding like the old stuff, old techno by the Advent, but it's certainly a bit closer to what to other Advent stuff I've heard in the last few years. Yeah, it's always a very dynamic workout from Cisco. This one is by someone called Knobs. The Knobs remix. It's good that he's called Knobs as well. If he was just called Knob, might have a slightly different. You might think of him slightly differently, or her. But Knobs is his producer's name. Now onto the flip. We've got Surgeon. Solid job from him. Surgeon doesn't really make a bad track, I don't think. And then moving on, you've got Ralph Murto here, a more broken cut. Yeah, fairly wild one from him. Nice job. And this is on Cannibald Records, which I think is Leo Anabaldi's label, is it? It would seem to make sense. I think it is. Nice. Yeah, strong one to close us out there. Now, Rose. I think it's Rose, is it how we say it? And this is on his label O Records. I think I say it. VAUX. Of course, Rose is one of the kings of hypnotic techno. Sort of flip. Let's go back to 33 maybe. Kind of like that one at 45. I'm not sure if it's meant to be at 45 or 33. One thing that needs to be said, actually, well, maybe it doesn't need to be said, but one observation here be I don't think there's that many other producers who would get away with putting out this record or putting out those two tracks on one side and then putting the other one out. Now, in fairness to Rose, he has built up that kind of following and dedication from his fan base who will buy anything that he puts out, but certainly being able to take that kind of risk that and it would be a risk for a lot of other producers to put out two beatless tracks on one side. It's great that he's able to do that. And just going to back to the other side to remind you. What does this remind me of? I don't know if it's another Rose track it reminds me of, but it's shit, what is it? It reminds me of, do you know that Acid Jesus track that got re-released a while ago? That was out on Clang originally, and it got re-released there not so long ago. I forget on what, I think it was on a label that they set up themselves. Reminds me a little bit of that. Yeah, some of you will know the one I mean. Anyway, moving on, we've got Emmanuel Top. KALM. See that now? I would have liked that to have happened there, around here. To have all of these drums, just have all of that going. See there, like it's just a lot of time being spent with not much happening. But that's the way some people make their tracks. Who am I to tell the great Emmanuel Top how to make techno? But certainly I would have liked that maybe to have come in a little bit earlier. It's my frustration sometimes with certain tracks is that they take so long to develop, and you kind of have to play them for longer than you'd like to sometimes. Sometimes it's worth it, you know. And this one does eventually kick off. Yeah, see, then it goes into this thundering beat down at the end. Won't be wrong with having that back here. Do you know what I mean? Switching that bit back to here. And maybe getting rid of the first bit. Anyway. We'll send them notes. Right, this is it's an acidy one. Bit reduction stuff going on there. So although it's an old sound, there's some nice little production twists to make it sound modern. And of course, play this at the right time, the right setting with the right crowds, maybe in a big room, and yeah, you're gonna get a pretty big reaction, I think. Yeah, when Emmanuel Top strikes, he strikes hard. Really good one there from him. Now on to the next. Actually, it was a little bit like maybe something Woody McBride would have done even. Loads of elements in these tracks, but he mixes them very well. There seems to be some very subtle filtering, probably good use of send and returns in here, and all in all, you've got a very alive track as a result. This is a double back, as I said, by Emmanuel Top. For sure, there's at least a couple here that will please most techno heads. So, next up now, we've got one by Kink. Actually, we'll go to the other side first. So basically these are like remakes of by Kink of Aphex tracks that he likes. Employing lots of the same techniques. replicating Aphex as best he can, really, and he's done a good job. Are there a couple of little, yeah, there's a few little lock grooves and stuff going on as well. Now onto the flip. This is on a label called Charivari Records, is it? Let's see, Charivari Records, yeah. Brain dance tip. This one is my favourite actually, and it's probably the when you hear it first you're going, is it? Yeah, oh it is. It's from one of the old Caustic Window 12s. That. And obviously the original of that is much faster and much heavier. I think he's done a nice little slant on it here. And that one is called, what's it called? Soda Caustic. Ah, okay. From what I know though, those were, I think they came out individually, but then they came out as a, I think they did anyway, and then they came out as a compilation, a triple pack compilation, which was released originally in the 90s, but then came back out again about 5 or 6 years ago, which is worth getting your hands on. But yeah, that one's by Kink, and it's called the Aphex Kink EP. Now this one is on Life and Death, and it's by Lucy. This is by DJ Soto Fed. Kind of Jack and DJ tool. On the other side now we have what do we have on the other side? We have the original mix on the other side now by Lucy. Which is fine. Tool kind of thing, and then a kind of trademark Planetary Assault Systems sounding remix. Yeah, for me it's about the Soto Fed remix on that, but the other tracks aren't bad either. This one now is on Sine Wave. This is by Industrializer. Yeah, interesting to see him pop up on Sine Wave actually. Obviously the Advent has done stuff on Sine Wave before, his sometimes production partner. But yeah, interesting to see him on Sine Wave. Yeah, and he does the kind of bleepy hypnotic thing very well here actually. Something a little bit more intense actually than what we've heard on Sine Wave in a while. Good job. I'm gonna flip. This is a really good record actually, and I have to say I haven't always been a fan of Industrializer in the past, but this is probably my favourite record by him so far. Really good job. All 3 tracks are very, very playable. And still keeping that kind of classic minimalist sine wave sound. Pretty much the same groove, but just lots of interchanging percussion. Definitely has a touch of the Advents on this. Sounds a little bit like the Subjective, doesn't it? The old Alias that the guys used when they were on rotation back in the day. The Advent, of course, just being one person now, Cisco Ferreira. Yeah, good job from him. Now, LSD, which is L for Luke Slater, S for Steve Bicknell, and D for David Sumner, aka Function. And this one is on Osgoton, Bergheim's record label. It's about this one. So a lot of pressure behind that one. It's it's the kind of tune where you're starting to put your foot on the gas. You're starting to let people know it's time to go for it. Real slammer this one. Sounding, and it does have, you can hear a little bit of all the producers in here. Maybe it leans a little bit to Slater sounds overall, but you can definitely hear a bit of all of them in it. Especially as all 3 are in it, you kind of go, oh yeah, well that sounds a bit like Steve Bicknell. Oh, that sounds a bit like Function. Oh, that sounds a bit more Slatery, whatever. But yeah, maybe it tips a little bit towards the Luke Slater sound. But overall, a very welcome new project actually, and not really the kind of exactly the kind of record you would have heard from any of them individually. But yeah, like I said, maybe a little bit more Luke Slatery overall if we were going to go for one of the 3 of them. But obviously, it's a similarity in sounds. That's brought the 3 of them together too. So yeah, an interesting combo. So we'll come to that one now. Yeah, no, we might as well get straight into this one. This is on Voitax, and it's a triple pack on Voitax. Now this one is by first up is on this side is by a person called Esker. I'm going to flick through this kind of... Next one is Second Spectre. This is called Baser Mortal. Fairly dark, punishing stuff so far, as has been the aesthetic of the label as it's grown. It's over time got heavier really overall. Now Pal featuring Mara is first here. See what that's like. 45. No, let's keep it 33. That I like the speed it's made at too. Actually, it kind of makes the impact hit a little bit harder. Actually, this one is by Bleaching Agents. Just making sure I have the side. Oh fuck, maybe that wasn't Bleaching Agents. Oh yeah, no, it is. Oh shit, is it the other way around? See, this is the thing when it's. Oh, who knows? Sorry, I'm not gonna get too. This would appear to be the Bleaching Agent tune. I could be wrong though. Doesn't really sound like Bleaching Agents, but. Okay, let me work this out. Sorry, I don't. Okay, sorry. That was the Esker and Second Spectre side, and then this side was the How and the Bleaching Agents tune. Okay, because the only really way of finding out was looking at the cat number or the inner part of the groove here. So this one's by Monkop. A little bit of it, different shades. There, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier. The tune that works at 33. Like it, or at 45 at least. Put it on the next one and it's too fast. It needs to go back to 33. Yeah, I see it happening a lot more in records these days. Stutter's kind of kick drum rhythm. Going from him. Now Makaton and Nair Latotep are on the other side. What's that like a 45 now? Sorry, we've been doing a bit of that on the show today, but sometimes it's hard to tell when someone else has been at completely different speed. Although that sounds right. Quite a lot slower though than the Makaton tune. I'm moving on then. The final disc. Swarm Intelligence, I think. Let me check. Sorry, I've been doing that a bit, but I want to be sure Yes, this is by Swarm Intelligence. I can confidently say that now. Nice clanging percussion ricocheting around the place in that. That's by Domenico Krisky. It's a lot faster, as you can hear. Old waveform transmission sounding stuff almost. This one's by Cressida. It's been popping up more and more recently on different labels. Pounder from him, and then Unhuman then to finish it up. So a heavy duty triple pack there from the Voitex guys. Well done to them on 10 releases and marking it with a triple pack. Now moving on, we've got Hodge and Randomer. This one is on Clone Basement series, and these are remixes actually. This one, the B-side, it's an original tune. Actually doesn't sound too dissimilar to one of the tracks that Batu did on Tesla Audio. Ploy, I think it was Ploy, was it, on that release? But yeah, I think that initial sound kind of comes from that actually, but yeah. Now moving on to the other side, again one original from the guys. Yeah, I'd say that sounds like the more randomery tune out of the two originals by him and Hodge. Then moving on to this, which is like an Alden Terrell remix. There's Surge on it as well. Yeah, good job. So he's turned that lead sound into an acid line. Is it Alden Terrell and Surge? Yeah, good job. On Clone Basement series, as I said. What have we got next? This one is by Splice, who is one half of Scudge, I believe, and this is on Non-series Sykes label. So very much loop tools. Side. there from him. Splice, and it's a non-series, as I said. Next up, Acid Avengers. This one is by Defect. This is the Maelstrom side. Acid Avengers, a French label. We've been doing some split 12s. So broken, distorted acid electro thing. Good job from Maelstrom.
The haunted house, the 747, the rickety porch, the lazy afternoon, my mother's house, your sister's house, the hospital ward, the clothes hamper. No way out of Chicago, or Cleveland, or Detroit. No way out of the 60-story.
Yeah.
The bowling alley, the noisy
I like
mall,
that sample
the
there.
enormous
Those kind of
alley,
things always work well.
the restaurant, the delicatessen, the department store, the trolley. No way out of the desert, off the
Definitely adds to the sinister edge, the sinister side of this tune. Yeah, good job from Maelstrom there. Onto Defect side, which isn't as tough. Definitely more about the groove. As well onto the inside tune here. Slightly more serious acid electro cut for Defect. Now the thing with this tune, actually, I don't know if there was a slight mix-up with the label, but I know Matt sent this tune over thinking it was a little bit longer initially. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with me giving you the backstory to it, but he actually he sent this tune over thinking it was a longer track. So actually it's not meant to cut off the way it does. You'll hear it right now at the end. And this is something that yeah, you can hear it just stopping there. This is something that can happen with labels and producers sometimes, little misunderstandings, because actually the label got back and said, oh, it ends a little bit short there, like maybe you could, finish it out there or make it a little bit longer. And Matt was convinced that the version that he had sent over was actually longer than that, and he says, oh no, that's just the way it is, that's the way the track is, I can't make it any longer. And I think the label were kind of in the end were like, oh well, okay, fair enough, and we're nice about it. But actually when it came out then, Matt was like, oh, where's the bit at the end gone? And he said it to the label, and they're like, well, we said it to you, it was short. And he's like, oh fuck. So that's the shit that stuff happens sometimes, and it's just I don't know, sometimes I guess maybe you need to double check these things, but when you've rendered the file over and over again and you've listened to it again and again, and then you get your mix right or whatever and you render it the final time and send it over, I don't know, maybe sometimes something can happen when it gets sent through WeTransfer, or maybe there was something that happened when it got rendered initially, but yeah, I guess it was assumed that it was a certain length, but it wasn't, and wires were crossed, but still it's still very playable anyway, and I'm sure for a lot of people you'd be kind of mixing out when it kicks back in there anyway. You maybe don't need the extra minutes, but certainly when you put out a record and you hear something in it that isn't meant to be that way, I guess it can be frustrating, but there you go. This one's by Oliver Roseman. This is on Mindcut. Now onto Drug Culture. It's a really versatile producer, it has to be said. Spooky vocal on top of that one. Moving on, ABSL. Who you may remember from his recent release on Blockhouse. Job from him, and now on to Otake, who we played something from earlier on the show. Broken offering, which kind of takes off at the end. That's on Mindcut, as I said. This one, oh shit, nearly fell. This one is on Tinfoil, and it's by Defect and me. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about my own music other than yeah, this is by two of us. Tinfoil 6. We released it near the end of last year, and or near the end of December. It's sometimes not always the best time to release a record, actually, but we were keen to get another one out before the end of the year. Sometimes it takes me a little while, actually, after something comes out or after it's made, till I can actually listen back and go, oh yeah, that's okay. I think me and Matt are both kind of feeling that way about it. We're happy enough with it now that it's out. Sometimes you make something and you just really, as soon as it's made and it's sent off, you're just like, phew, thank fuck for that, never have to listen to that again. But then when it actually, when it does actually come out eventually and you get the record and you're not tired of still listening to it, and you listen to it again, it's like, oh, okay, cool. In the Zoo in Geneva earlier last year. I was pretty keen to put something from a gig on one of our records. Yeah, so it doesn't sound produced like the other tunes, but it is, and it would have been recorded straight as a stereo file onto a digital recorder. But yeah, nice to get it on there. feels funny kind of speeding that up, because obviously that wasn't the speed it was when it was playing. It was slightly faster. But going on to the next one, this is on iTeat, which I've only just discovered a while ago. It's actually a sub-label of Interdimensional Transmissions, which is Ectomorph's label. This is by a producer called Altstat Echo. And yeah, I was really into this record, so much so that I checked out some of the producer's other material. He has a few other records out as well. Really, got a really nice sound. Yeah, the kind of sounds that really ripple through across the dance floor, you know, with a good sound system. This stuff just sounds so alive and dynamic. It's the one I've been playing the most. Almost like something Monolake would do, actually. That's certainly, yeah, this guy seems to definitely have his own sound. Yeah, and I like discovering new producers like that who I really want to get more of their records, basically. Yeah, I thought this was a really, really strong one. Definitely one you can hang on to and play in years to come. I don't really think this will date too soon. Good one from him. And that's on iTeat, as I said. This one is on DLBM Records. This one is by Beat Movement. Yeah, and I've met the guys. They're Italian, and they've come along to a couple of gigs actually before. Yeah, and I like their label. Met them at Tresor recently in Berlin. I think the time before that was in Rome. Nice guys, doing a good label. This one is by Endlek, who was actually playing that night in Tresor, actually. Yeah, thundering cut from him. Yeah, so very solid A-side there. Moving, or B-side at least, onto the other side. We've got Umwelts. And a broken acids kind of thing. And then closing it off with Deliria, which seems kind of louder. It could be kind of perceived loudness, but it seems to kind of go up a bit in volume there almost. I guess it's yeah. She doesn't always happen with an inside cut. Nice little rolling acids track. Yeah, solid one from them. That's on DLBM Records. A nice coloured, nice kind of slightly off. Is it slightly off white or is it purely white? It's hard to, maybe it's slightly. I don't know. Now moving on. Shit, you know what? I need to get the info on this record. I should have had it. bad because I don't have all the info here. How am I going to find it out while this show is going on? Right, we're going to do a quick switch. Sorry, but I'm going to find it. I want to find out all the release info on that actually before. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to get all the info on that. Sometimes happens with white labels. I know there is a Drug Culture remix on it, but I don't have all the rest of it. Or is it a full Drug Culture release? Sorry. Sometimes my memory with so many records, sometimes it can just be hard to remember every last detail. But we're gonna get to the bottom of it. Yeah, this is by Roxy Moore, another one on Don't Be Afraid.
4 years ago, in 1953, after the Soviet Union exploded its first hydrogen bomb, creating the modern arms race.
Yeah, pristine production on this. Nice little bits popping out here and there. Yeah, overall a really interesting and fresh sound palette. Yeah, moving on to the flip. Again, some nice craziness there. Yeah, some really wild sounds. Little rhythms, little rolling rhythms. Yeah, that's a nice one. That's by Roxy Moore, and that's on Don't Be Afraid. We had a really good year last year, and have done. The last few years played lots of stuff on this by them. Yeah, this was a recent one on Earwiggle by Swarm Intelligence. Yeah, I played a few by Swarm Intelligence on tonight. It's called Flatlands, which is like the title track. Yeah, and the B-side in this is actually noticeably different to the A-side. It's actually been the one that I've been playing the most on of the release. Yeah, it was nice to finally get a record out by Simon actually, because we've been talking about it and planning it for quite some time. But last year was a strange year actually. It wasn't the was a few hold-ups, and it took me a while to get this release out, but it was nice to get it out in the end. And a slightly different one to round it off. The most recent Earwiggle by Swarm Intelligence, who I believe has he has a few things coming up actually. I won't ruin the surprise actually of what his next one is after that. I was about to say it there, but I'll leave that up to the label. This one is on Propaganda from Moscow. It's a mixture Zadig, Savas Pascalides. I'm not too sure who else are on this. I'll be able to check when we turn it over. Yeah. Cool, so I've got the info for that, for the white label. I'll play it in a second. I think that's the Zadig one. And the other side was DJ Deep and Versions, I think. I think Versions is Psych and... oh, I can't think of the other producer's name. Nice one here. It's funny when I do these videos sometimes, when I am playing some tracks, I literally discover tracks right as I'm playing them, because having so many records to go through sometimes, by the time I do the video there's some I literally haven't played yet or really got to grips with yet. But yeah, there's often some nice discoveries for me as well, not just you. So that one's on Propaganda. Now back to this, and yes, my memory should have been better. It's on Bug Clinic Records out of Belgium, I believe. And yeah, it was the first name that was artist name that I was not remembering. It's X plus Trick or X-a-Trick or something. X plus Trick. It's the name of the producer. Some hard acid tinged business. The real McCoy there, and then this one. I think this is the Drug Culture remix. Yeah, for me it's about the A2 and the B2 on this record. I think both the inside cuts, as can sometimes be the way on a lot of records. I often end up going for the inside cuts, and I am doing on this. And this is on Bug Clinic Records. Should be out very soon, if not out already. X-And's Trick. Oh, eccentric. Yeah, okay. Now I'm getting it. I have only copped that, so it's not. It's yes, okay. Eccentric. Okay, I didn't get that little trick. Okay, so that's on Bug Clinic Records. Watch out for that. Now, moving on, we've got a few here on a label called, what are they called again? Electric Limited. Now, I'm going to just fire through these ones quickly. The first two, because they've been out a little while. Just telling you who's on them. Kenny Dahl and Ontal are on them. It's Ontal, but then it says remix beside it, so I'm not sure if that is that a remix that they did, or is it a remix of one of their tracks? Sounds like maybe a remix they did of one of their own tracks. There's another Ontal one here as well as Entropia Techno Department. Right, so you know what you're getting on that one. So that's Electric Limited number 1. On to number 2. This is by Ryuji Takeuchi, who's been releasing stuff for donkey's years now. He's making good solid hard techno for quite a few years now, and it's backed up with a lag remix on this. Now onto the flip. Intense, and similarly intense as well, like a granite kick drum there. Now, was that number 2? Oh no, that was number 3 actually. That was the most recent one, I think, and then this was the one in between the two. Entropia Techno Department again, and then with a kind of nice acidy one here, and then Radial. Yeah, the thing I like about Radial actually is they do shifts. Or it's just one guy now. Jerome. Sorry, I'm really bad at getting my. I know anyone that's Dutch is probably laughing at me now, because initially when I used to see Jerome, I would say Jerome. But if you're Dutch, you don't say Jerome, you say Jerome or something. Oh, Jerome. Sorry guys, I know I'm absolutely useless at doing a Dutch. Dialect or way of pronunciation, so sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. I know I'm going to keep doing it and keep getting it wrong, so I won't bother. Anyway, Radial. Onto the other side, Kenny Dahl. Followed by Ken Carter. Yeah, that's on Electric Limited. And thanks to Claudio Rosato for passing these on to me. Actually, a recent gig in Rome, and if any of you know Claudio, he's a bit of a legend actually. Been going out to techno gigs for who knows how many years, but yeah, big supporter and part of the techno scene over in Rome and indeed Italy. Great guy. On a label called Falling Apart. Or is it? Is this the one on? No, it isn't on the one Falling Apart. Actually, this is something else, which I'm not sure what it is. Hang on, we better get to the bottom of this. This is, this is Maticism. Sorry, apologies. This is by Maticism, and I have to work out what the name of what the record's label is at the moment. I think it's probably Maticism as well. So apologies. It's nothing to do with Falling Apart. something else actually. It's by Massicism, yeah, as I said, and we've heard this one. And onto the flip. Yeah, slightly steppier one. Favorite so far. Yeah, so still a heavy kick drum, but a little bit softer in sound. Read the pick actually of the trick. And that producer's called Massicism, as I said. Massicism, yeah. Now again, I need to find out a few. This just has a catalogue number. I actually had it. Yeah, got it here on my phone. This is by a producer called Hertz Collision. It's on a label called Persistence, and it's a split EP. Other side is by Manuel Di Martino. Sounds a little bit Rob Hood-esque. Interesting little range of tunes on that side there, and that's on Persistence is the label there. 5 tracks, good split 12. Now moving on, we've got the upcoming one on Inner Surface Music. I don't think this one is out yet. It's by MDD. This is on A&D's label, Inner Surface Music, which they have been running with Tom DeCiccio. I didn't ask Andrew recently whether or not they're. I'm not too sure if they're still running it with Tom. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But I'll have to find out actually. But do the L45 thing. I like it there actually. Well, now it sounds a bit fast. Anyway, let's go back to. That's nice pitched up a little bit at 33 as well. Yeah, so that can work out a range and speeds. Be a good sign. Punishing stuff here. One's called Tension. And on the flip, Truce. This method. Heavy workout there, and the destruction of metaphysics. Yeah, as far as hard, crazy, industrial techno for the dance floor goes. This one's on the money. producer called MZD, Inner Surface Music, and that I'm not sure when that'll be out, but I'm sure it'll be out soon enough. Next up is Manasit. Is he Hungarian? Is it Hungary he's from? This is Mobile Pharmacy, but it's the Via app remix. I actually remember that one, Mobile Pharmacy. It was a great tune. This is a remix though. Yeah, more techno-y, because most of Manasit's stuff is quite electro-y actually. Yeah, a little bit more like this actually. Quite a contrast there actually. Onto the flip now. Oh yeah, Mobile Pharmacy's on it. Yeah, and Manasit, what I really like about Manasit actually, there's not like, his tracks can be quite simple, but it's just his choice of sounds is always really, yeah, it's just really unique. He's definitely got a very unique sound. Through Manasit's discography, you'll find quite a lot of stuff. He was quite prolific for a while. I think he's even had stuff out on Bunker, as far as I remember. I don't have that one, but I'm pretty sure he released a record on Bunker. He also had an alias that he did at least one record under. Maybe it was just one. Sam Lowry. Watch out for that as well. But if you've been discovering electro recently or catching up on it like a lot of people have, yeah, go and check out Manasit. He's done some really good records. Now, moving on, we've got the Horrorist, and it's on Riot Radio Records. Oh yeah, and Muzar was the name of that last label that Manasit was on, Muzar. Yeah, classic horror sounding stuff here. I think this did appear on the compilation that they had out recently, but this comes with remixes. This is the Riot remix. It's the Riot remix, but it's by Taser. And then after that, Dave Tarita, Neil Landstrumm, and then Stickhead, which is, I'm pretty sure, Oliver Chesler. Yeah, I need a bit of that, don't we? Fuck it. Yeah, let's fucking pitch the fucking thing up. Should have kept this till the end. Okay, it won't go any faster than that, but you get the idea. Yeah! Okay, right. You get the idea. So that's that one. and that's the Horrorist on Riot Radio Records. Good job from him. Some nice remixes there. The headphones are a bit wobbly. Right, this one is from Jensen Interceptor, who's making a lot of noise recently. Australian producer. This is on Central Processing Unit. Yeah, talking about new electro and new electro producers and who's pushing the sound. This guy's got some good stuff going on. Onto the flip. Very like the Hacker, actually. Good job. Yeah, a bit more like the Hacker's old material. Sometimes when I say a certain producer, I'm sometimes talking about the sound they might have used to have done that they did previously. The Hacker isn't. Well, is he doing? I suppose he does the odd thing a little bit like this now, but. I'll be thinking more of some of his older material on Good Life or Dance Floor Killers or. Almost like an old Augs 88 type thing there. Good stuff from him. Anyway, that's Jensen Interceptor, and that's on Central Processing Unit. The second one on that tonight, or today. This one is on Falling Apart, and it's by a producer called Falling Apart. Freddy slamming. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, it's with the B1 there for me anyway. Very full on stuff there. On Falling Apart, and that's the name of the producer as well. Nice one, guys. This one is by Raphael Atanzio. This is the AND remix. I actually thought that the yeah, it is. Yeah, Raphael Atanzio. Yeah, okay. Somehow I thought it was pronounced or said so. The spelling was slightly different to that, but no, it's not. Yeah, so it's Sledgehammer, Pacey, AND remix there, as they do so well. This is on a label called Letters from Jerusalem. Now on the flip, got Ancient Methods. Front 242 vibe there. Or broken interpretation from Headless Horseman. Yeah, three very different sounding remixes, all strong in their own way. One there, it's on Letters from Jerusalem, as I said. Now moving on, we've got we got one by I was gonna play this by Lost Tracks, and this is on Frustrated Funk, I think. I think it's on Frustrated Funk, or else I've just made that up. We'll find out when I turn it over now, but I think it's on Frustrated Funk. So a deeper acid thing there. Now, I think for me that was more about the long side here. Yes, and it is Frustrated Funk, I think. F432. Yeah, this is the one. That one there, Big Acid track. Now this one is by Warren D. It's on their own label, Warren D Records. Is it Warren or Warren? Anyway. It also comes with a Katran remix and a Huron and Sarin remix as well. We'll work out which ones they are now. Is this the A side? So this is one of the originals. So the dudes aren't messing about here at all. So let it there. Onto the flip now. Katran remix. Yeah, we've played a fair bit of kind of Italian-based stuff on the show this time. Now going on to this. This is the Huron Sarin remix, I think. You can hear an extra vocal in there, which is probably Huron, I suppose. Yeah, some of you might know the Sarin records. He's done a few actually, but one on that I played last time, I think, that was on Aufnahmen und Wiedergabe. You can kind of hear the similarities there. Now, next up is this one by Sleep D, which I can't remember what it's like actually. It's on Butter Sessions is the label. Slower, this one. And actually, for once, the record tells us what it should be at. It says 33 RPM, so I won't change it. Yeah, sometimes with slow records, I often I'm just tempted to see what it's like in 45, and sometimes it can work. It's like Acid Tracks by Future. I remember remember when I first started playing that, I used to play it down at -8, and I'd because my deck, most Technics decks don't go any less than -8. I'd be mixing it in, but I'd be holding my finger on the platter a little bit to kind of make it go extra slow. And sometimes sometimes even now I have to do that the odd time. Not very often. In that case, it wasn't meant to be at 45, but sometimes to be able to make a track fit, and if it works as well, it's kind of like, yeah, put it down at -8, and then just hold your hand on the platter a little bit to slow it down even more. But you have to keep it down in a certain way where there's consistency in the pressure that you're putting down, where you're actually making it consistently less than -8. So if you hold it down and drag, you can actually make it consistently -10 or whatever you want to slow it down to. So that's what I was doing with acid tracks at the beginning, but then over time I realised, maybe I'll just play it faster and it'll work with certain types of, because it is quite a slow track. Actually, there was an edit that came out that I still have to guess, that came out on was it that P-Series label? That was like a faster, more techno tempo version of acid tracks. Anyway, we're nearly halfway into this and I haven't even said anything about it yet, but I'm preferring this one actually to the first track. Yeah, this is by Sleep D, and actually the last record Sleep D had out was quite a bit different to this actually. It's a little bit more atmospheric actually overall, whereas the last one was like a much kind of heavier kick drum and a little bit, dare I say, kind of wonkier sounding. This is it's more like kind of late 90s, early 2000s German techno. Now, so moving on, that's on Butter Sessions records. Now, here's one by Emmanuel. This is called Rave Culture, and it's on his label Arts, but I think it's on a Arts Core actually is the sub-label of Arts, or subsidiary of Arts. Actually, we'll start in order. We'll start on the A side. Of this actually, this one reminds me a little bit of an old Jay Denham tune called Revenge of a Madman. It was on the first one, I think. It's like a blue vinyl, or a blue cover actually. This reminds me of one of the tracks of that actually, only a little. Onto the flip. So it's all in the harder area, but so far we haven't really heard one tune that sounds the same as the next, which is good. Yeah, more spiraling lead there. sticker here, a Rave Culture sticker as well. Comes with it. So all in all, there's some like lots of tough drums certainly over all the tracks, but a range of moods for sure. That one's a bit of a blaster. Yeah, almost sounds like an old Downers release or something there. Kind of sneak in and out there, but yeah, nice job. Nice way to finish it off. Now we're getting very close to the end. This one is on Electrons Label, which is Electron Gramophone is the name of the label. It's by Landstrumm again. Landstrumm's always good at is like stepping in and out of almost like using his time machine to step in and out of different eras and make them work against his own style. This one is a Mosaic, and this is by Mike Schomer. And anyone that's followed Mosaic, Steve O'Sullivan's label over the years will know it's a very dub techno centered label. That's definitely what we're getting here. Nicely done. So it's nothing we haven't really heard before, but it's nicely done and it sounds fairly sharp production wise. Yeah, definitely develops part of the track. So yeah, Mike big Skomer, and yeah, putting his own little slant on it there, actually. Fairness to him. And that one is on Mosaic. Yeah, we're almost there. This one's by ScanX. ScanX, the old Parisian producer, has done lots of stuff on FCOM over the years. I haven't actually seen much of him in a while. There is Jesus. That one on the other side I just played there was by Marcel Fengler, and the first one was an original track, Alien Symphony. I'm not too sure if that's new or old, because I've seen very little of ScanX in recent years. This one is the Key Carry remix, and then the Electric Rescue remix here. This is on Vol Phony Records. So similar sound to all of the tracks really, but there'll certainly be something you can pick out of those for. Yeah. Moving on. What we got? Samuel Carriage. This one's on. It's on Downwards. This is actually the one before J.K. Fleshes. Fairly mentalist tempo there, actually. Lots of crunching and banging and stopping and starting. Interesting stuff from him. This one's quite a bit different. Forward-thinking gear there from Samuel Carriage. Next up, Analog EP here. It's from the Analog guys in Athens. This tune is from Mr. M. Pounder there onto the flip. Germ. big rattling drum track here. Added rides. And then finally, Amet's Hold the Door is the name of this one. So all DJ friendly, heavy techno tracks there on analog. Moving on now. This is, I don't know what label this is on. This is on Pie Factory Productions. This might have come out a little while ago actually. This one's by Technocracy. So broken drum rhythm over the top, and then this is by Dilettantism, which also involves the producer Adam Lincoln, who was on the Technocracy one as well. Now, next up, Jerome Hill. To that one, and then an electro cut to close it off from Dexter. One of the great UK electro producers. Haven't seen so much from him or Bass Junkie in recent times. I hope to though. Hope to see them back a little bit more. Solid one there from him. Yeah, moving on to this. This is Restoration 23. This is the Analog Cops label. Show. Nicely done. Mariayu is on the other side. A little bit more lo-fi this one. Again using a vocal loop. And then Xeno Gears, I think is how you pronounce it. Which is an alias of the Analog Cops as well. It's probably the loosest tune on it. Interesting one actually. It's on Restoration 23. Always a great label. Yeah, look out for that one. I think there's a few fun tracks on that. Now this one is by someone called Phelan. sure who Phelan is. It's on a label other than being Phelan, but it could be somebody else under another name. Credits written and produced by Phelan in 2017, somewhere in Europe. So automatically they're kind of trying to come across as being mysterious. So there's a fairly good chance it might be somebody else. I don't know, or maybe not. The label is Gin Records. Certainly sounds like it was made by someone who has made techno before and knows how to do it. And it's mastered by Andreas Kaufeld, who used to be a great producer in his own right, but who then kind of got more into mastering. You don't really see, I haven't seen any productions by him in a long time. So one banger and one kind of beatless kind of rhythm track on the other side. That's on Gin Records by someone called Phelan. Now next one is by Terence Fixmer, and I'm not sure how long ago this came out actually. It's on ASOK. Back to a darker sound now for Terence. Sounds has changed over the years, and it's kind of funny as the sort of EBM influenced techno has come back again. I hear a lot of the new stuff and I just kind of think to myself, fuck it, sure, Terence Fixmer did all of that in whenever, 2000s, 2001. He nails that then. He really made it his own. And for a number of years after that, when I hear a lot, like I said, when I hear a lot of the newer stuff, I just automatically think of him. But he obviously changed his sound a little bit since then, and it's still stayed quite relevant. Still gigs around a lot, and is now an ASOK, which is obviously good label for him to be on these days. Planetary Soul Systems style, Luke Slater style track. Right, where are we? Alex Cortex next up. This is on Raw Wax. I haven't had anything by Alex on this in a little while actually. One or two shows I remember having multiple ones, maybe like 3 tunes. I was going to say it sounds a little bit like old Roman Flugel or Acid Jesus, and when you think back to that actually, on labels like Clang, Alex Cortex would have released on Clang back then as well, so there are definite similarities between some of the stuff he's doing now and actually has done over the years, and maybe what Acid Jesus were doing back then, or Roman Flugel. So quirkiness there, I think. Yeah, but Alex Cortex always been very much his own man. He's the exceptional producer actually, and very prolific. He kind of disappears and then he kind of comes back with loads of records. First one I'd had by him in a little while. think this has the potential to be the bigger tune of the four here anyway, or in terms of dance floor reaction. No, they all do their own thing nicely. One's on raw wax, a lot of the stuff on that being quite DJ friendly. And of course raw wax being attached to shy wax, which puts out a lot of the Chicago stuff. This one is by Umwelt, and this is his latest one on Shipwreck, which is out a little while ago. Yeah, one really good thing about the last few years has been seeing producers like Umwelt finally getting the widespread attention and coverage that they deserve. Tense, epic, uplifting style of electro that is really distinctly his own. It's his own, definitely his own style. Moving on. This one by IKEA Boy, actually. I haven't seen much of recently. IKEA Boy is from Waterford, actually, down south. Which on its night can be one of the best, really one of the best locations, one of the best places in Ireland to play. Fortunately, Waterford, more than some other places, were badly affected during the recession here, a little under 10 years ago, and it had a bad impact on the club scene down there. A lot of people lost their jobs, and yeah, just the club scene suffered, as I said. But there are still people keeping it real down there, and there are still nights happening down there. And like I said, on a good night, it can be one of the best places really in the country. IKEA Boy's been making music for quite some time. He's a teacher, actually. He teaches music technology, I think. I think these are old tracks. These are on Wicked Bass. From what I think I read something saying it, they were old ones. And a range of tracks here actually as well, which is nice. Strip back. Yeah, for me though, it's about this one. You'd almost associate more with dub techno, but they're delivered in a clanging sort of way. Yeah, good job by him. for me, that's the little secret weapon off that one. Yeah, we're almost at the end. Yeah, Makaton now on Blueprint. Whoa, really jumps up there. Because if you compare, it's quite low here, and then sounds like a proper emergency situation there. And then drops back down again. Yeah, nicely done.
Like what happened with hardcore or whatever is that things get so ritualized they're no longer powerful, they lose their power, they're not dangerous anymore, they don't excite people, and they don't move people anymore. They just become some kind of a traditional thing which people can just slip on their clothes and slip on an attitude. But for me it's like it's a life thing, man, and if it's gonna be a life thing for me, it has to always constantly be moving forward and like have some kind of a time thing, dimension to it.
I'm not too sure who he sampled there actually. There to hear noise, not sure who that is. Yeah, Makaton does his own kind of version of minimal techno in a way. Sometimes he has those tracks. There's not loads of elements, but that lead sound will really leap out at you and grab you when you're on the dance floor. Next up is this one by I'm Murdered, which is Janice and Louis Flores together. Like I said, Bass still putting out a lot on the label. I think the next one is Takaki Aito. Not sure if it's out yet though. Yeah, this would appear to be the more kind of standout track of the four, I think. Definitely the crazier, darker tune of the four. Yeah, this one is by someone called Fall Bile. Not too sure who they are, but I like the cut of their jib. It reminds me quite a lot of some of the stuff that used to come out before on Nuel or Mental Disorder, those kind of labels. There used to be an act called AOX, that some people might remember. Not a million miles from their kind of gear, which is just a real concoction of different stuff. And this is on Bode or Bode, which is Killy Kill label. I'm not sure what he's saying there, but I like what he's saying. The record is called Macht Zement, and it's by Fallbile. Yeah, a real range of tempos and styles here, but there is hang on a second. Yeah, this is okay. Yeah, I was going to say there is a sort of a style or a production style that glues them all together. This sounds a little bit different actually to what we heard on the first side, on the first record. Now, moving on, is this one? Ultra slow now. And even if the vocals aren't for you, there's certainly a few tracks here that work well. Will work well on the dance floor. Yeah, I really like that one. Fallbile has to be one of the most original records we played tonight. Or today. Why do I keep saying tonight? Because it's not tonight. But now moving on. Here's one almost like a long lost record. This is by SoundCloud. Now I'm going to start actually with the other side. This is a live version. You can even hear some of the crowd actually. But SoundCloud, as a lot of you will know, are Mark Kavanagh and Mr. Spring, aka Tim Hannigan, who produces these videos and who does all of the legwork and the real work involved with putting these videos together. But they have been going, or SoundCloud started in the early 90s, and the project got resurrected again in recent years, more so for gigs, but they did put out a record on their final night, which is their 25th anniversary at Christmas. Now this track was actually a live version of, which is like it's kind of like a mashup between THK France, which some of you will know, that came out on Warp Records years ago, and then a fairly smart introduction of Visage Fade to Grey. With a little bit of Sharon Stone from Total Recall there as well. Yeah, that's a live recording actually, so as it gets busier there, you can hear the crowd. I think you hear them again here. Yeah, you hear them whistling there. And then back into THK France. This track though, this last tune, this is one I always wanted to come out on record. This I'd say is probably my favourite, one of my, definitely my top 2 favourite SoundCloud tracks. And this was under the name Secret Weapon, which was initially pressed on a, if I got the story right, was initially pressed on a 7-inch single, or on a 10-inch, was it? Or were they all in 12s? Oh yeah, no, they were on 12s. But there was only 3 pressed at the time. It didn't get a full pressing. And I remember years ago hearing this on the radio, only ever getting the information that it was Secret Weapon. And I don't know if I knew it was SoundCloud at the time, but I used to love it anyway. And I think we all have memories with old tapes and yeah, just nostalgia, reminding us of certain times in our very young youth, getting to know this music for the first time, recording it, trying to find out what was what, and yeah, this was a track that really reminded me of a certain time, and to actually have it on vinyl now is great. Sure how many of that record are actually still left. It did get pressed recently, but I'm sure if you look around, you can still get copies of that. There's obviously a lot of die-hard SoundCloud fans out there who will already have copies, or who will be still trying to get any of those remaining copies. So if you're after that, that's the parting shot from SoundCloud. That's their will probably be their final ever record. So watch out for that. This one is on Dame Music, and this is by the Analog Cops again. Who else have we got here? Banging acid tune from Milton Bradley. This is the Acid Rain stuff, and similar sounding. And now on the flip, we've got Boo Williams. Yeah, a bit of a contrast actually against that last one. So, straight up house groove. Changes it. I think it'd be more about the other side for me personally. Damon Wild, Cosmic Path is the name of this, and it's on Infrastructure, and it's his newest album. Damon has been well, let's just go. I suppose we've done it the other way since. Let's start with the A side. Thinking that I would do this easily in 2.5 hours. It's not working out that way at all. Well, some things never change, I suppose. I did think though we'd do it in a little bit less time. Trippy stuff from Damon. And I think with Damon as well, he's always a lot of his stuff is it's in ways mirrored the Jeff Mills style, but always just always something a little bit. It's been like Jeff Mills, but it might be like one cut especially, but then you listen to the rest and you go, oh, that's more like Damon Wild. But yeah, sometimes he can kind of go one better actually. Twins back in the day with that Rave Generator track, or Toxic 2 at least. Thanks for correcting me, Tim. Who were Toxic Twins? There was Toxic Twins as well, wasn't there? The what? Were they Belgian? Yeah, okay, yeah. Toxic 2. And actually, that Rave Generator, they used another name for that as well. What was the other name? Because on one of the RNS editions, I think it's another name they use other than Toxic 2. Anyway, never mind. There is another name though they used. Yeah, and I don't know why that was. Maybe it was something legal actually with recording on different labels or something, I don't know. But there's definitely another alias that they use for that. Now, have we had the other side yet? We have. Yeah, more of the same gear pretty much. Oh. Unexpected electro cut. That's the thing with Damon as well. There is, you know, you will occasionally have these nice soaring strings and extra little bit of atmosphere that you don't hear in other tracks of a similar style by other producers. And that's what comes with being such a long-serving producer as well. He can just do extra little things well that others maybe don't. Actually, this one was the electro one was actually a function edit, and then finally side. It's very like this subtractive synthesis kind of stuff. Which is an alias of Damon Wild as well. Right, and now finally we're going to finish with one from Talker. Which one is which now? We'll start with the Surgeon one actually. Like I was saying with Damon Wild, sometimes the old guys like Surgeon as well, you think the track is going one direction and then they just take it somewhere else. Great stuff from him. This is a beatless one. And you obviously heard bits of that on one of the earlier tracks on Standards Practices. It's Standards and Practices, yeah, of course. But on one of the earlier Talker releases on this label, you would have heard that, but with beats behind it. It's a particularly good one. Now we got Regis here. Nice rattly remix from him. And then we'll close it up with the Broken English Club, aka Oliver Ho remix of Talker on Standards and Practices. And yeah, this is, it looks like, the last edition of the Quarterly Crate. We've done this for 3 years and 12 episodes, and I think we're fairly happy with what we've contributed and what we've done so far, but it is time to do something else, to do something new. We may, who knows, we may revisit this format again, but looking into the near future, it's time to start something else in a slightly different format, maybe not as long of a format, but certainly something new and fresh. And yeah, that's what's coming next. So the Quarterly Crate, it's the end of our third series and the end of these series. Thanks, as I normally say, a special thanks to Tim Hannigan, who's helped me immensely with these. Without him, they wouldn't have ever happened. But yeah, it's not the end. We're going to be just going into a different format. So see you very soon. And thanks to everyone that's watched it and enjoyed it and braved their way through even longer episodes, time after time. At no point did I ever want to compromise these, and I'm glad that we're going out with another equally long episode. So yeah, thanks to everyone for listening and watching and supporting, and see you again in a slightly different form very soon. Thanks.